Shalom, Yasharallah. This your brother Dawada, coming back at you with this here truth again. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahushua, Bahashim, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone that taught us this truth and our will. And citation and much love for you, I can push this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. So I want to jump into this here lesson real quick. It's going to be a real short one, but it was something that kind of caught my eye. But it says British MPs call for a probe into massive spike in deaths. All right, now, contrary to what, now we don't know what's actually causing all this here stuff. I'm not a medical professional, not into any of this here stuff. So, hey, don't come for me. I'm just reading this here article. All right. But in this here article, they go to state that this doesn't have anything to do with this, we'll call it the pandemic, right? Doesn't have anything to do with this here situation. But, and not saying that, oh, well, they lying about this and they lying about that. But, overall, the Lord said that he was going to, basically judge Esau, start, working on uprooting Esau, right? Now, we know he's going to ultimately get his full ultimate judgment, all right, in the day of the Lord, in World War III, all right, and when the Lord returns, all right, that's going to be the ultimate judgment for him. But just like, Babylon the Great itself is going to get her judgment, her full judgment at that day and that time, all right. But right now, Babylon the Great is being judged as we see. All right. Every day things is waxing worse and worse for Babylon the Great. So in the same way that Babylon is being judged right now, Esau is also being judged, not to say fully as far as, fully being eradicated or anything like that. But, hey, we seen this judgment being turned up on them. So it says British MPs call for a probe into a massive spike in deaths. Nearly 3,000 more Britons are dying than average on a weekly basis. This is not the pandemic that's responsible. And if you could just think about, the mass shootings that America's been having over the last 2 weeks or something like that. All right. I believe it was 3 or 4, something like that. And one of them, I believe, had like two, one dude wound up shooting up 2 different places, but I believe you had about like 3 or 4 of them. All right. But, and, Moab was involved in some of that stuff. But nevertheless, it's the fact of the matter of the current state of America, man. All right. We're just barely making it into the first month of the year. All right. But it says troubled by national statistics showing 20% excess deaths per week. UK MPs have demanded an investigation, the Daily Mail reported on Tuesday. Unlike the last time excess deaths reached such levels during the second wave, few of these deaths could be attributed to the virus. Now, let's take everything for what they're saying here, right? The fact of the matter that, this isn't caused by the pandemic. Now, what they're doing here is comparing these numbers to the pandemic, all right? And they say, hey, these numbers is, during the pandemic, things was going off the scale. Now, the same thing is going on right about now, but this ain't because of the pandemic. It's something else, all right? And they'll go on a little bit into it, but it says, some of it still has to do with the pandemic, but not necessarily the illness, right? So it says, speaking before the House of Commons on Tuesday, Conservative MP Esther McVeigh skewed Chief Medical Officer Chris Whitty for blaming the spike in the non-pandemic excess deaths on patients not getting statins or blood pressure medicines during the pandemic, pointing out that the monthly figures for statins prescriptions had remained constant. All right. And so, again, they're going into the fact of not because the pandemic, people are getting sick. All right. But just like, let's say, for instance, you could say, because of the pandemic, we had a shipping crisis. All right. Well, not because there wasn't people at work to be able to ship the stuff because they were sick or anything else like that, but because people overly ordered stuff and they're just backed up on shipping. Right. So, the pandemic can have effects on, things other than just people actually being sick. Right. I know that with like, let's say, for instance, in my job, the pandemic affected my job, not in the way most people would think, oh, we getting shut down and everything. Well, actually, it gave us more business. All right. So, you are affected different ways by, this here pandemic other than actually you getting, sick, so to say. All right. It says, where's the evidence? And if there isn't one, what is causing these excess deaths? She asked, demanding the minister commit to an urgent and thorough investigation on the matter. All right. It says Labor Shadow Public Health Minister Andrew Gwynn described Health Secretary Steve Barclay as part man, part ostrich over his refusal to confront the issue, accusing Prime Minister Rishi government of denying and buck passing. All right, basically saying he's sticking his head in the dirt or looking the other way. There were 50,000 more deaths than we would have otherwise experienced in 2022, he told the House of Commons on Tuesday. Excluding the pandemic, That's worse figures than since 1951. All right, and you have to understand what was going on at that point. You know, you're getting at the end of World War II, right? So it says, according to the Office of National Statistics, 2,837 more people died in the second week of January than normal in England and Wales, with just 5% of those deaths being attributed to the pandemic. So, man, you already up, or it says 2,837 two 2,837 more people have died. So this is over already the average. And like I said, we just in January, right? Out of a way to start off the year, you know. It says the last time deaths were so high during the second week of February 2021, pandemic deaths made up 37% of the total. Nor is this the statistic an outlier. The last 2 weeks of December saw 21% and 20% excess deaths. The Royal College of Emergency Medicine reported as many as 500 people a week were dying because they cannot receive emergency treatment in time. So again, you have scenarios that's going through, you know, hey, they can't receive the treatment, right, or medical supply isn't there. All these different things is causing these deaths. But ultimately, we know it's the Most High that's just, you know, waning these people down. All right. It says a record of 54,532 people waited more than 12 hours in emergency departments to actually be admitted to the hospital once a decision was made to admit them, according to the NHS data. And only 65% of the patients were seen within 4 hours. All right. Last month, Whitty warned that postponement of elective and semi-elective care and screening due to lockdowns and NHS delays will result in another wave of mortality after the pandemic had largely subsided, with undiagnosed cancers and other chronic conditions claiming a larger than usual number of victims. So, you know, you can say this is pandemic related, but again, it's not the fact that they're not claiming that people are dying from the actual illness itself, right? So this isn't, you know, one of those type of stories where it's like, oh, the pandemic is killing these folks and this and that. No, man, what you can understand is they're comparing this to the spike in the deaths of the pandemic, where you had a so-called, how they would say, a viewable reason, like, hey, well, you know, all these, let's say, give you a different example, you know, because I don't want to get into this health topic where they want to strike the video down for misinformation, right? So let's just say on a normal day, right, you'd be like, well, and let's just say in flying airplanes, right? And we're measuring how many people die a day, you know, on whatever particular day flying on airplanes on certain weeks or in months, right? It's like, well, you know, our chart says nobody died. We're at 0, 0, 0. Then you have a huge spike, boom. And then they're like, well, what happened here? Why do we have a huge spike of deaths here? Well, we had a plane that crashed over here and everybody died that was on board. Okay, so we can account for the spike of deaths right here because there was an actual airplane crash. So the next month, nobody died. Now you got another spike of deaths. And say, okay, what happened here? We did the investigation. There was no plane crashes. Well, how can you account for the same amount of people? Basically, you know, let's say the last time you had 150 people that died on a plane crash. This time you got another 150 people that died, but there was no plane crash. How can you account for this here? You know, how can you account for all these people that died this time, you know? And it's like you're looking. It's like, well, we can't attribute it to a plane crash or anything else like that. But then you go and you do further investigations like, well, the people got on the plane, you know, and let's just say hypothetically the oxygen ran low on the plane, and then everybody wound up dying on a plane or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't that the plane itself crashed and the people died, but the people on the plane actually died from something else that was on the plane. So it was like, well, they died, they got on the flight, they died, but they didn't die from a plane crash. You know what I'm saying? So it's the same thing here. It's not that, you know, the pandemic itself, you know, the illness itself killed them, all right, but they're comparing it to something of that, you know, where you have a so-called excuse, something to compare it to, all right, but they're like, well, it's because of, you know, how do I say, not the backlog, but the, you know, people can't get treatment in enough time, can't get medical supplies and things like this, and other health conditions, man. All right. You know, people are highly more depressed on more antidepressant drugs, you know, drinking and on alcohol and just regular drugs, man. All right. Because of this here, you know, depression that these people are feeling right about now, man. Anxiety and things like that, man. Don't know where they're going to get their next meal from. All right. But hey, ultimately, the Lord is the one that's doing all these things. All right. And that's working on, you know, let me see if I want to grab that first. And matter of fact, let me see if I can find this precept in Isaiah. Let me start here. Isaiah 14 and verse 21, it says, prepare slaughter for his children, for the iniquity of their fathers, that they do not rise, nor possess the land, nor fill the face of the world with cities. Now, when you look into a lot of these different, they have a lot of different terminologies because they be trying to hide it in some stuff. Like, you have like some, and I don't want to speak on these things either because they like to shadow ban your channel when we talk about these things. But when we talk about, like, let's say the environment, right? They hide a lot of that into another topic that they use. Let me see. They have another term like replacement theory, the browning of America. Basically, you know how the scripture put it this way: Esau is the end of the world, and Jacob is the beginning of it that follow. Right. So Esau has these things where they have these little different groups and stuff like that, where they call them like these white supremacists and stuff. When you listen and watch any of the documentaries on any of these groups, they all have one thing in common. They think that Jake is basically taking over, right? So, and they're looking at the different statistics of the things that's killing them off, whether it be, what they call death by despair. All right. They're feeling it. They're down and out and they're killing themselves and everything else like that. One of the big major things is the fertility rate about them. I was watching a documentary on them. I got to finish the documentary, but I recommend this documentary. Lord will, I'll do a video on it. It's called Not So Pretty. All right. And, you can look it up and see if you can find it. And it's a 4-part special, but inside this here documentary, it goes into a lot of different ways that, these chemical companies is killing Jake, whether it be through makeup, whether it be through baby powder, what is the other shit they was going into the when you go to get your nails done and stuff like that. All right, lotions, all kind of different stuff that they, but the when you watch the documentaries, if you know what you're looking and listening for, you have that their ear. They say, oh, they tested it out on minority communities and black and brown communities. It's like, damn, it's 4 episodes, but every episode they say, well, this was really centered on black and brown communities and stuff like that, right? But when you go into some of these other things, right, they talk about, like, in this documentary, they talk about how some of these chemicals are stopping the reproductive rate, right? But then when they start showing on the reproductive rates type stuff, it's only these Edomites. It's like, so these are the things you have to, when you know what you're looking for, listening to, when they talk about the reproductive rate and everything else like that, they talk about these Edomites. So when they talk about the Roe v. Wade thing and the abortion argument and all that, that's all Edomite stuff, man. They don't give a damn about you, Jakes, aborting your children. In fact, they want you to do that, man. They want you to look at the shit, the rest of the stuff that they give us. I mean, watch the documentary. They're like, look, we want you to put this on your babies and all this stuff, and for generations, they're going to be sterile and everything. They plan this stuff for us, but for their people, all right, because they have the money and the medical advancements to to pay for it and everything. Not going too far in the documentary, but just watch the documentary and you'll see the piece, the things together. But if you know what you're looking for, you'll realize the fact that their reproductive rate is very low. You can also watch documentaries on that as well too, how they're pretty much a 0% reproductive rate. All right, how they're struggling to get pregnant and everything else like that, and how they're damn near paying, all right, people of their people to conceive and have children. All right, whereas Jake, they trying to stop Jake from having children, man. All right, Jake sneeze and get pregnant. All right, Jake don't have no problem having no babies out here. All right, but hey, look at what the Lord is doing to these Edomites, man. So and that's this is something that we've been far gone past this here stage to where you got Jake that be waking up and thinking that we in this here time and this here form gonna be putting our hands on Esau and taking Esau out, man. Hey, if you hadn't been watching over the last couple of years, man, the Most High has had a flawless victory on these damn Edomites, man. All right, straight goddamn ultra combo on their ass, man. Hit them with a pandemic, hit them with a bunch of depression, hit them with a bunch of drugs and opioids, hit them with all kind of shit, mass shootings and every damn thing. And guess what? Ain't none of them, none of us. That's just all of them doing all this shit to themselves, man. Sending they shit over there in the Middle East and all these other countries for war and everything. Hey, man, Jake just sitting over here. Jake's still over here looking for PPP loans and doing the money dance and shit like that. Jake over here just still doing some stupid nigga shit by Esau over here getting slaughtered out here, man. All right, and like I said, the point here is, because we'll read scriptures like this and people will think that, oh, y'all are a hate group, y'all are a violent group and everything. Hey, man, really look back and look at what first and foremost, take a look at the men that's preaching this. Take a look at their track record. When have you seen any of us put our hands on these Edomites like that, man? All right, if anything, we're a lot more safer around these damn Edomites. You go out to a bar or a club or something like that with regular Jake. Jake might be just swole Esau, lumped his head up for whatever reason. He looked at him wrong, man. But then, you have Jake that might, Jake that's in the truth, maybe out with some brothers in a bar or something like that, going out to eat or something, and Esau out there drunk. You know what I'm saying? You even see it at camp. But let's just say out of the camp setting, you might be out of the restaurant eating or something like that, and Esau drunk out his mind and lost his mind and want to start some shit. Jake to be in the truth, we quick to de-escalate some stuff, man. Hey, man, look, we don't want no problems, man. You know what I'm saying? We just trying to eat and go home, and he still want to be belligerent and everything. Hey, look, man, all right, you got it, bro. You got it. And just move on about our business, man. All right, by no means are we pushovers or nothing like that. Push come to shove, keep your hands to yourself. But the point I'm trying to make is that, hey, we don't have to be violent towards Esau. They like to paint that picture, that narrative that we're a black extremist group and everything else like that. Hey, man, the only thing that's extreme about this here situation is their extreme hatred towards us. All right, because they're the ones that's gunning us down. They got us over here marching up some hands up, don't shoot, we can't breathe, Black Lives Matter and everything else like that. Whereas the Most High is just murking them off left and right. But you don't see them marching in the street complaining to the Most High, talking some Edomite lives matter, man. All right. In fact, let me oh man, where was that? I had that in my mind. Or I can, yeah, let's grab that real quick. Second Esdras 16 and 17. I'm gonna just start here. It says, "Woe is me, woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evil come?" All right. So it says, hey, the beginning of sorrows and great mourning. All right. Hey, like when the pandemic came around, that's what happened. You look up, go on YouTube and look up death by despair. All right. And that's been going on. I mean, that goes back some years. All right. When the economic downturns first started happening in the 2008, all the way up until now, they never really recovered, man. And a lot of these Edomites have been losing their farms, losing their jobs, losing all these different things, all because the Edomites is doing it. And look at what's going on right now with and hey, the spirit hit, maybe I'll do a video on this as well too. But look at how they cutting all these damn jobs in Microsoft, Apple, what's that company called? Amazon. All right, all these companies is having massive layoffs right about now, man. All right, one of these companies, I believe it's Google or somebody is suing. One of them is suing, or the U.S. is suing one of these big major companies like that, man, over these things, man. All right, but nevertheless, hey, you see all these different, economic downturns is only leading to what? More depression. All right, more sorrows and things like that, more grief. All right. But then you also have these mass shootings. People are afraid to send their kids to school every other weekend. It's a mass shooting, multiple Edomites getting killed. What are they celebrating about right about now, man? All right, they don't have anything to celebrate because everything's just is a nightmare for their ass. All right, it says the beginning of sorrows and great mourning, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars and power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils, what shall I do when these evils shall come? And you're talking about the beginning of wars. Before, all these Americans were screaming, support Ukraine, but as they starting to sober up, all these Edomites around the world are starting to realize that Russia don't have the, I can't think of the word, but they're basically their morality is low. They don't really want to fight and everything else like that. They're incompetent and all these different things, and they're not really wanting to go out to war and everything. Hey man, them Russians is really with it, but then at the same time they understand if they go forth with this, it don't end nice for nobody. It's going to end in nuclear conflict. And a lot of you Americans are starting to wake up and to realize these things is actually becoming true. Oh yeah, well, we got nukes and our nukes work and everything else like that. Yeah, all that's pride. Are you really ready to test that theory out? Because all Russia got to do, they got thousands and thousands of nukes, right? Let's just say they got thousands and thousands of nukes, and that could be all propaganda, which we know it's not. But let's just say for these fucking people's sake, let's just say it is propaganda. All they need to have is one fucking nuke, man. One nuke to work and one nuke to hit over in this bad boy. And you willing to take their chance? That's my point. So, hey, man, these people, they're full of their pride, man. All right, so they're starting to wake up to these things. Hey, it's not going to end well for them, man. All right, and not just that. Look at what's going on, dragging out this Ukrainian war and everything else like that, how economically you're feeling it over here, man. Can't afford eggs, can't afford food, can't afford gas, can't afford housing, can't afford rent. All right, hey, this is going into your own demise, man. All right. Verse 19, behold, famines, plagues, and tribulation, anguish are sent as scourges for an amendment. And this is the point I wanted to grab. All these things is happening to you goddamn Edomites out here. Verse 20 says, but for all these things, they should not turn from their wickedness, nor always be mindful of the scourges. Now, we know that they can't repent, right? There was no place of repentance found for them, but you would think that some of these people, now you do have some of these arguments that some of these people saying, look, I heard something the other day about they want to, what is it, DeSantis talking about some stop the woke movement and stuff like that. Now, when it sounds like certain things on paper, when they say certain things, they like, we trying to stop from going down this here path that we going down, which, some of it does sound good and some of it is pretty good for our like the community type stuff. Yeah, that's good to back up off of these things, but to end all be all, man, we got to stop Esau, because Esau is, like the scriptures say, a little leaven leaveneth the whole lump. This is that little piece of bacteria that's going to just keep spreading. So we got to get rid of the source of this here mess, man. All right, and the Most High is doing a wonderful job of this as we speak, man. All right, I can grab this as well too in Ezekiel, but I didn't want to make this long. Matter of fact, I'll just grab a couple of verses and we'll close out. Ezekiel 35:3, it says, and say unto it, thus saith Yahweh power, behold, O Mount Seir, I am against thee, and I will stretch out my hand against thee, and I will make thee most desolate. And I will lay thy cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am Yahweh. And hey, somebody was telling me about how sad it was looking, about how Ukraine is all bombed up, and I'm like, hey man, that's all Edomites on Edomites over there. They killing their own goddamn self over there, man. And it's gonna get way worse, man. This is just a precursor to these things, man. All right, but look, you got to think about how the Lord said, I'm gonna reward you a double for all the things that you've done. Not just America, but these Edomites as a whole have been going through and bombing all these other nations to hell and back, to the Stone Age, man. So, hey, World War I, World War II, and really World War III is nothing but Edomite on Edomite crime, man. They just banging on each other. So guess what? They're going to ultimately make everything, all their habitations desolate, man. All right? And the Lord is going to finish up the rest. All right? It says, verse 5, because I has had perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their iniquity, or in the time of their calamity, and the time of their iniquity had an end. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh, I will pursue thee unto blood, and blood shall pursue thee. Since thou hast not hated blood, even blood shall pursue thee. All right. And it says, well, let me read the next three verses. It says, thus will I make Mount Seir most desolate, and cut off from him that passeth out, and him that returneth. And I will fill his mountains with his slain men, and his hills, and in his valleys, and all the rivers, and they shall fall that are slain with the sword. And I will make thee a perpetual desolation, and thy cities shall not return, and you shall know that I am Yahweh. And we're in that process right now where the Lord is actually, putting in work on these damn Edomites, man, bringing them down to naught, man, bringing them down, and then ultimately, sending the rest of them over into World War III to be buried in the sands of time. But hey, right now, this is what you're seeing going on, talking about all these deaths that's happening, and all these people dying off, all these people getting killed off and everything. Hey, man, this is the Most High that's judging Esau right about now, man. Think about when the Lord judged Jake, man. All right, it wasn't the fact that they was just getting hunted down over there by them Arabs first, then the Africans after that. Then when they was getting onto the slave ships, then getting tossed off the slave ships, then the horrible treatments that was going on over there. Then some of them made it over to America. Then they got killed off once they got to America. There was a bunch of different events that was killing off Jake by the time they even got over to America, man. They say it's an estimated 90 million Jakes died, in the Middle Passages alone. Just on the ships, on the transport over here, man. Not to mention the ones that was killed before that, man. So just like, how you would say, before the actual judgment hit and took place, all right, they was getting killed off before then, man. So, hey, the same thing you see going on with Esau right about now, all right? And I'm going to go ahead and close out with that. Lord willing, the elect was edified with this here lesson. Until next time, I say, call halal Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shah, Bahashim Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, the great millstone that taught us this truth and our will. And salutation and much love for your Aki and pushing this truth and sincerity over the four corners of the earth, and enduring afflictions to feed and edify the elect. Until next time, I say, stay strong. Shalom.